first name so I can't...
Tim, T-I-M.
Timothy.
Siemens?
Yes. This, to start off, this originally I wrote to present to the Borough Council at the meeting on September 24th, but I couldn't attend the meeting. I was sick.
Is this, excuse me, is this in reference to the C or is this a statement of your own?
This is a statement. I think it's important to what your decision is. So I think I should be allowed to read it.
Yeah, I think you should be allowed, but at the current part of the meeting, we're accepting the comment of the citizens present here on the proposal. Would you hold off?
Why?
Why?
5 minutes?
We'd like,
Gee, he's gonna comment on the
we
plan.
would like to hear what the comment is and what the
Yes,
citizens...
This is a comment. I should be allowed to speak.
Wait, hold on. Will there be a portion where he's allowed
Well,
to speak?
there will be time. You're not going to exclude
Yes.
me at the end of it, or wait until everyone leaves and then I get to speak.
Right. Is there anyone else has any comment concerning this meeting? Yes, sir, your name?
James Moran, Second Avenue. My only question is, I heard Mr. Blazer talk about the gauges and that he's gonna be checking the gauges. Is there any way that you can place those gauges online so that people in the municipality could see the data?
To help them reassure us.
You know, because if you're able to go on and see the same data that they're seeing, I think it would be helpful. And that's
Good
number
idea.
one. And number two, Borough
They
of
don't
Dunmore
want the equipment.
hires their own employee that does inspect the dump, the garbage. So I guess there would be somebody from Jessup that would be responsible for that. Joel Lorenz does it for Dunmore.
Jimmy, I would hope that if we got to that point, which I surely hope we get to that point, that all that data is put on the borough's website.
Well, I just did a quick search right now, and I came up with 4 other power plants in the United States that produce their data online, that you can just sign on. There's even one with an app that you can go on. You can get an app on your phone. You can check right there what the emissions are, what's happening with the water discharge.
That would be
I
an
think that'd
early
be a
part of an
really
early
good
warning
idea.
system, if it's legitimate.
Is there anyone else that's here to speak on the application?
Charlotte Freeney, 100 Mildred Street. I'm going to speak to the zoning ordinance 6.480. It states that no emission of fly ash, dust, fumes, vapors, gases, or other forms of air pollution shall be permitted, which can cause any damage to health, animals, vegetation, or other forms of property, or which can cause any excess soiling. My question tonight is, do you have any independent medical studies that would prove that the pollutants and the fine particulates from Invenergy's gas plant will not be harmful to the health of the Jessup citizenry? The pollutants that Invenergy claims will make our air cleaner. Anyway, in my opinion, that's one of the most ridiculous and absurd statements I've ever heard. And I'm speaking of the short-term effects it will have on people with lung disorders and children that may be asthmatic. And I'm also speaking of the long-term effects 10, 20, 30 years in the future. I urge the Jessup officials to have their own study done to determine what we can expect health-wise as a part of the conditional use permit.
Is there anyone else who cares to speak on the issue? Did you want to?
Me? I already spoke.
Yeah, did you raise your
I
hand?
yield to Mr. Siemens, who previously requested to speak.
Let him recognize you.
Why don't you let him speak?
Go ahead.
I can tell you don't like me.
Tim,
You're not getting a Christmas present.
I'm sad.
And I just won the Powerball last night.
Nice boy.
Tonight, not last night.
No, this was originally intended for the council, but it probably wouldn't have done any good anyway. it's not strictly addressing points of what you're gonna be voting on, but it has something to do, and it's my opinion about how I feel about the construction of the plant. If the plant was being built another 2,000 feet away, none of us would probably have an issue with it. Or most of us probably wouldn't have an issue, 3,000 feet or somewhere else. I don't know why there isn't another option for Invenergy to build it somewhere else other than so close to a town with human beings. I mean, we're gonna be affected. I was up at Target when they did a burn up at the Nature's Conservancy in the Target parking lot, maybe a month or two ago, I'm not sure of the exact date. But when they say that based on the imaginary atmospheric dispersion models they brought to the meeting on September 2nd up at the high school auditorium, of which none of the members of Invenergy could answer Ms. Lynette's question as to what does this mean? What are the concentrations in a given area? Or how did they come to this? It just seems like these dispersion models were created by industry or by academics that are paid by industry to give them a beneficial outlook and give them a favorable outlook that shows that the dispersion will not be hitting a populated area. Their dispersion model just happened to show that it was all going up into the woods away from us, which half of the time will probably not be the case. When I was up at anytime that we don't have winds, the prevailing winds coming from west to east, and we just have total calm. At night, the air cools, the air sinks, it comes down off the mountain. When I was up at Target, to get back to my original point, after the burn, when they put the burn out, you could see the smoke flowing down the valley over the industrial park, over the comm center, down into Jessup, all the way down to the Lackawanna River. And it was at least a mile wide coming just from the Conservancy burn, what was left there. And hugging the ground, going through the trees. When I came back to Jessup, I could smell the smoke. That was just from one burn. This is going to be something that's going to be with us for decades. It's going to be pumping out. Well, I'll go back to originally what I wrote because I'm getting hitting points ahead of time. Invenergy LLC seems to have used the ages-old tactic of divide and conquer. They have, as has been said repeatedly, come into our community and pitted neighbor against neighbor, friend against friend, and even relative against relative. Did it really have to be this way? If this energy plant were so good for us, then why the rush to meetings and decisions with so little public notice and awareness, and jamming people into this hall instead of allowing people to go up to the auditorium where more people could fit in and sit comfortably and not have to stand in the back of the room or stand outside the room? Or like the July meeting where it was 100 degrees in here and no one could breathe, so most of the people left, which was exactly what the council wanted. Why did we have to rush it? Why are they mostly held in the Borough Building, and is it a mere coincidence that the DEP hearing held at Valley View High School just happened to be on the first night of school when most of the parents were unaware of it because it was very little public notice, or too tired to attend? Is it any coincidence that the Salem Township gas-fired power plant, the 1100 megawatt in Luzerne County, received approval from the DEP for operations a day after the Valley View hearing, where many of our questions went unanswered and many requests for a second hearing by the DEP were apparently ignored? They say this plant needs to be built here because of the ever-increasing demand for electricity. In New York and New Jersey, for New York and New Jersey, who, by the way, may care less about us, and that it's all about good jobs and investment in our hurting communities. Could it possibly be because with time and a little research that they knew the truth would come out and spread to many? God forbid that the people who will be most affected or afflicted be well informed. I agree we need development and investment to create more jobs, sustainable jobs in our area, and was originally not overly concerned. That was until I heard others who were well-informed citizens from our area list the many toxins that will be, as verified by the DEP report application, spewing out of the gas plant stacks at the rate of 187 pounds, my body weight, every 10 minutes, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for many decades to come. DEP also admitted that the company will mostly be self-monitored and only 3 of over a dozen pollutants and toxins will be tested or monitored. The reaction by the crowd to this revelation at the September 2nd hearing was obviously one of complete disbelief. The DEP did, however, say that they will periodically send out inspectors without notice to check for any violations, but the majority of the time it will be up to someone at the Energy Center to contact them, which will not happen. They're not going to call them for a DEP to come up and slap them on the wrist with a fine if they violate either putting polluted water into Grassy Island and a fish kill in Lackawanna. It's not going to happen.
Thank you.
There's no question to have that.
I'll read the rest at the next meeting.
We can leave the rest here, we can present it to you. You saw the fire from Target. Well, that was only one day, they had the fire 2 days.
Yeah, well, if it was a
I
target.
sat here in the Borough Hall, and I was interested in knowing whether they got any calls about pollution in the air.
I have pictures of it, if you don't believe me. I have photographs.
You know, it didn't go the other way, it came.
It came down into Jessup.
Not one call on effective pollution or anything.
Well, I'll show you, I'll bring the pictures.
Burning a pack of leaves in front of your house.
I have the pictures since you're calling me a liar.
Next time I'll call you directly.
You get 5
Gene, I
calls.
have a question to you. Does that mean the smoke didn't come into the town because no one called? Do you have a point?
Yes, I do.
What is it?
They keep burning all day long, but you can't burn your leaves in front of your door.
You're right.
Did the smoke come into the...
Let's work on that next.
No
Did
burning
the
in town.
smoke come into
No
the borough?
burning, but
Gene, I have a
you burn
question.
up there.
Mr. Chairman, did the smoke come into the borough? Did the smoke come into the borough? Did the smoke come into the borough? Please answer the question.
It's coming, absolutely.
It did, okay, so will the smoke from the smokestacks. Thank you.
The book,
Why don't you ask Mr. Blazer or Mr. Rewan those very same
they
questions?
can burn.
Why don't you attack them like you attack the taxpayers?
Yeah.
You represent us, not them, us. Why don't you
Yeah.
remember that?
Give them some hard questions.
Be respectful of these people, they are the taxpayers.
Is there anyone else?
I'd like to.
Hi, Lisa Simon, 203 Front Street. I just have a quick question about the first responders. My whole family lives in Archibald, and a foam plant came in there a few years ago, I guess, and their volunteer rate went down. So what happens if the plant comes in and our volunteerism decreases? Who are we left to fight the fire if we have one? Wouldn't it be prudent if Invenergy hired 2 full-time, I'm just saying, like 2 full-time firefighters to keep on swell. I'm just saying to keep on staff, because if you have a revolving volunteer base, like how are you going to keep them always trained for emergency situations? They lost half their people because they didn't want to fight the foam. Who's going to want to fight that? Not me. Thank you.
Yeah. Okay. Mine's more along the lines of what he said. It's not really
What's your
pertaining.
name? What's your name?
Joshua Timothy Siemens,
What's your address?
401 Clarkson Avenue. You're welcome.
What's your last name, Joshua?
Siemens. Seamans. So mine's more along the lines of what he was talking about. It's more of a personal view on pretty much the entire scenario that's going on here. Okay, I'll start. I'm a lifelong resident of Jessup, Pennsylvania. First of all, I'd like to thank our Creator for blessing us with the ability to freely speak out against anything we disagree with or to speak in praise of anything that we support. It is a privilege that is often unappreciated and taken for granted. I'm an 18-year young taxpayer, hunter, fisherman, environmental activist, and St. Anthony runner. I'm taking this opportunity to voice my opinion on the madness that is currently unfolding in our town at a very rapid pace. We are debating on whether or not a 1,500 megawatt power plant, one of the largest in the nation, will be beneficial to our communities and wildlife. Is that really a question even worth a debate? If your answer to that is yes, let's at least make it a thorough debate. let's at least meet in a building with adequate seating for the thousands of residents of the many surrounding communities that would like a chance to speak and ask questions about the massive toxin dispenser that will operate 24/7 so close to their homes. Why is this restricted to Jessup residents only? The impact from this operation will be constantly affecting Archbold, Blakely, Einan, and even Scott Township and Mount Cobb for generations to come. That means our children will grow up with this monstrosity constantly in view for the whole valley to see long after we are all dead. Life is short. Did you know that in 2006, Scranton was ranked as the worst city in the nation for people with asthma to live in? This is according to the Asthma and Allergy Foundation of America. Do you really want to allow a large corporation to reap massive profits from our tax-free zone and then discharge all the toxic waste into our air, earth, and water as their thank you present? All of this is being sold to us under the guise clean energy and jobs for Jessup. How can you possibly make a mountain cleaner by adding a 1,500 megawatt power plant to it? This is just plain disgusting. How will we explain to our children that this is beneficial in any way? Jobs? Are you kidding me? I live at home with a little brother and 2 little sisters. My father recently lost his job of 20 years. We are both looking for good jobs, as well as many of you. I want to make it clear that I am not against employers coming to our area. However, I am certainly against large corporations taking advantage of our town and leaving us with nothing but pollution in many forms, a divided community, and a sense of being robbed. Maybe we will get more jobs in the medical field to keep up with the worsening cases of respiratory illnesses that will surely result from the plant's toxic emissions. A good portion of residents will wisely leave the area before they subject themselves and their children to a massive power plant sitting right in their backyard. Right now on Trulia.com there are 40 houses for sale in Jessup. We should expect that number to rise if this power plant is built. And what about the possibility of a disaster? Soon we will welcome thousands of Syrian refugees into the Scranton area. What just happened in Paris? ISIS has repeatedly made threats of attacking us from the inside. They claim to have soldiers positioned throughout our country waiting to attack.
Possibility. Do we really want to build a massive toxic bomb perched just above our valley communities, just waiting to be detonated by a terrorist or a system failure? Where will the citizens evacuate to in case of an emergency?
Yeah. I mean, we got way off base here.
What's wrong with that?
Because it opposes your point of view.
Tell me how it's not relevant. Sir, tell me how it's not relevant today. If you're so smart, tell me how it's not relevant.
It's very relevant.
It has nothing to do with us, the standards we are given in our zoning ordinance, in the sections we've been told.
What did I say?
To evaluate this project. There's not one mention here of worrying about terrorists. Not one mention.
Maybe there should be.
Why the security updates then? Why the security updates? Why?
Why would they come here? They don't want to.
Why would the government come here?
And why did you say there should be?
Why would this company come here? Why? Why just?
Let's get ordered. Let's get ordered.
Shut up, Alex.
Tonight.
So does that mean because of the effect of terrorism, it's not in that language that it doesn't exist? Is that what you're saying?
What I'm saying
Out of order, Mr. Fiorelli.
we are dealing with the realm of the application.
Out of order.
Your board members out of order.
Security. Out of order.
Come on, Mr. Guido.
Can he finish?
No. I want.
I have a question for Mr. Guido. And I want an answer.
I have a lot of answers for all of them.
Okay, let's get into it. What's the answer? What's the answer?
We can go from backwards or forward. Let's go backwards. All right. You want
you going first, Dick?
Go ahead, finish